Hi guys, we're starting a whole new unit on lines and all the things that come along with lines. We kind of hit on lines a little bit last chapter when we were talking about the pizza and putting the dots and discrete and continuous. Now we're going to get into the more algebraic side of lines. Now I had a certain student, I won't name names, but told me that my lessons were boring. So ready for a story? I hope you're ready for a story. So here's my story. The first time I ever skied was when I was 21 years old. And my now husband just told me that I should go for a ski lesson. So I did. And he assured me that there would be no little kids in the lesson. Well, let's just say the closest in age to me was a 10-year-old. There was crying. There was people laying on the ground, eating snow. They taught us how to ski with one ski on. And by the end of the afternoon, I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know what I was doing. There was a lot of crying, and my current husband and I, we almost broke up at that point. We were dating. Fast forward many, many years, and we moved to Colorado, and so I really wanted to make sure that I was skiing with my kids. So the very last time I've ever skied was with my third child, Eamon, who's currently a freshman. And we were skiing on the bunny slope. Bunny slope was doing great. And so my husband and the other two older boys and Eamon and I decided we would all go ski. I think it's a green, which is the easiest one after. So we did. And here's my story. I got off the ski lift fine, which is unusual because usually I fall and then I throw everything. Eamon, however, didn't, and he fell. He was very young, and he started crying. Being the wonderful mother I am, I wanted to yell at him, but instead, I saw people were staring at me because I was like, hey, get up, get out of the way. And so I went to try to help him get up, and here's where the story gets terrible. As I was skiing towards him, because I'm not a good skier, I kicked him right in the head with my ski. So that's my story of skiing. That was the last time I skied. Eamon, however, has learned to ski very well. I don't ski very well at all, and so I just don't ski. So what does that have to do with slope of the line? Well, skiing for me is all about the slope. The slope of the mountain I'm on. I have cross-country skied, and I'm fine with that. But downhill skiing and I don't do well. So here's my little story. If I'm going uphill, I feel like I'm in complete control, and so I'm in a positive mood. And for that kid who says I'm boring, watch how cool I can draw. You'll see some amazing drawing here. With this is me. That's supposed to be my hair. Sorry. And then here's my ski thingies. What do you call those? Poles. I am allowed to have poles. And so if I'm going uphill, I'm positive. Unless I start sliding back down. But if I'm going uphill, I'm positive. Now, when I get to a flat area, if I don't put any effort into it, what's going to happen? Well, I'm not going to move at all. And so I have zero movement. And so that's a zero slope. There's no slope. I'm just kind of standing there, which I'm fine with until I feel like I'm going to fall. Now, for those of you who are good at skiing, this is where you have to think about me when you're thinking about skiing. Because those of you who love skiing, downhill is fun. For me, downhill is not fun. And so any type of slope at all beyond the bunny slope is very negative for me. And let me draw you what I look like when I'm skiing downhill. You'll be amazed at my artistic abilities. Here I am skiing downhill. Here's my hair. And here I am. I'm usually crying. Yes, I'm usually crying because I feel very negative about downhill. I feel like I can't control it. And here is the biggest reason why, is because of the cliff. See, when I first started skiing, they never taught me how to stop. And so I realized that there was this cliff situation, that if I were to fall off of that, things are not going to go well. And so that's my biggest fear. Well, falling off a cliff, am I really skiing anymore? Am I really on a slope at all? I mean, this isn't a zero slope. It's not like I'm not moving. I'm moving. I'm moving in the downhill very quickly. Not even downhill. I'm falling. Oh, let's erase that. That's not what would happen. This would be me. I would be screaming. Here's my hair. And my ski poles would be over here and up here and over here. I've heard that called yard sailing, right? I don't know. And so out of my mouth, I'm sure I would be yelling, No. This does not have a slope. A downhill, straight down vertical line has no slope. It is not a zero slope because I'm not standing still. I'm not even on the mountain anymore. I'm screaming and yelling and falling off. And that's my story of slope. Let's take it to the math. Now, it's fine if you wanted to fast forward through my story, but Nick, you better have listened to the whole story because you said I was boring, so there you go. I tried to make it more interesting for you. So here's what you need to put in your notes, not my whole story. The first thing you want to put in your notes is your positive slope. We are in America, and we read English, so we read left to right. So always think left to right. We start here, we go up. That's a positive slope. Okay? A positive slope, if we're talking about rise, we rise first and then we run. We go up and to the right, or let's say you run out of room on the paper, you could go down left. And that would still give you a positive slope. Okay? Let's talk about negative slope. And again, this doesn't work for you if you love to ski. That downhill is your favorite part. For me, not so much. This is where I cry. This is where I almost break up with my boyfriend that is my husband now. This is negative feelings for me. This is a negative slope. I start up high, I end up low, reading left to right. Okay, this is a negative slope. We rise over run again. And this time there's two things you could do. You could go down first and to the right. Or, again, depending on how much room is on the paper, I could go up and then left. Either way, the results would be a negative slope. Now let's talk about the two that are the most confused, and that's why I kind of talked about my ski story. There's two different slopes that are easily confused. If we have a horizontal line, that's kind of like at the ski where you're, stopping to get food. You're not falling, you're not really moving, you kind of got to push yourself along. This is a zero slope. This one I'm okay with. Zero slope means unless I push myself along, everything's good. I'm not moving. A zero slope looks like this. Now here's what it looks like if I would do rise over run. It means I'm not rising at all. I'm just moving up or moving left or right. I don't go up or down. I just get to a spot and I move left or right, okay? You cannot give me 0 over a number and think that's going to be your answer. You're going to have to simplify it to 0. I need to know that you know the difference between a 0 slope and an undefined slope or a no slope. And so here's the other one. This is the one I fear greatly when I'm on the mountain. It's the no slope. That's what I fear. That's why I'm a terrible skier. If I didn't have the fear of the no slope, I'd probably be an amazing skier. Not really. But the no slope, we call that undefined in math. It is not a slope at all. We really don't even know what to call it. And so in math language, we just say, well, that's undefined. Again, let's talk about rise over run. Okay, this time we're moving up or down, right? We're not moving left or right. That puts a 0 in the denominator. We do not know in the math world what it means to divide by 0. And so we call that undefined. It is something we avoid at all times in math. You will see at the higher level maths all the time, x cannot equal 0. Do not let the denominator go to 0. It's because it's undefined. We don't know what that means. Even on a ski slope, that's undefined. It just means I'm falling and probably not going to end up in a good place. So we call that undefined or 0 slope. I expect to see something like this, no slope or undefined. I will not just accept an answer with a 0 in the denominator. I need to know that you know that's undefined or a no slope. Okay, let's do a couple of quick problems because I took a long time with that story and I hate to take too much of your time. There is a slope formula, and this is the one you really want to remember. There's actually 2 ways to write it. And this kind of messes some people up sometimes. So m is how we write slope. It's a fancy m, okay? You can either do, and I'm going to use parentheses, y1 minus y2, over x1 minus x2. But you may have also heard it written this way, and people get confused. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. As long as the order on the top and the bottom is the same when you're doing your x1 and y1s, then it's correct. I will always use the first one because 1 comes before 2. It doesn't matter, but as long as you're making sure that if you did y2 minus y1 in the numerator, that you do x2 minus x1 in the denominator. This is always confusing because when we graph points, we first graph the x and then we graph the y. When we do slope, we do the y change over the x change. That we go up, down first, left, right. And so that can be very confusing, and it takes a lot of practice, and it takes you stopping and thinking when you're doing a problem. Let's do two. I think I only have 2 examples here. Let's do 2 quick examples. The first example is that this is just find the slope. And I'm going to have to give you 2 points or 2 ways to get a point or give you something to help you find the slope. For now, I'm just going to give you 2 points. I recommend strongly, which means you must do this, that you label your points. I'm going to just go in order. x1, y1. The 1 goes with the 1. x1 goes with y1. Don't try to put x2 with x1. So it's x2, y2. Okay? Now I'm going to rewrite my formula, whichever one you prefer. I'd pick one and stick to it so that you're not mixing them up. Okay? And then I'm going to substitute in what I know. Well, I don't know m. That's what I'm looking for. Next lesson we'll be looking for, we will be given m. y1, I'm going to come back over here, and y1 is 4. So that's what I'm going to put in. 4 minus y2, which is 8. So I'm going to put my 8 in there. I'm putting parentheses to remind you that you have to do the top and then the bottom. This line also tells you to do that, but I'm kind of giving you a double information here. And then I'm going to go x1, which is 2. My highlighter is not doing really great. Minus x2, which is 6. Okay? And then I'm just going to do top and bottom. Well, 4 minus 8 is negative 4. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. And the negative 4 over negative 4 is 1. My slope is 1, which means I go up 1 and to the right 1. I know in my mind that this is going to be a slope that starts down here and goes up. Okay, and we're going to talk about graphing these. Oh yeah, we're going to do a graph of this in just a minute. So I'm going to come over here. I forgot I wanted to graph these, sorry. That's why it sounded like I wasn't sure what I was doing. I just looked at my notes. Okay, and let's put our points on there. You don't even have to look. I could start with my points. So 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I got that right. Please make your lines nice and long. Put arrows on the end. These are lines that go forever. And what we did to get from here to here, we had to go up 4 and over 4. So plus 4 and to the right 4, which is the same as 4 over 4, which is 1. And that matches this one. So whether you do it by drawing or you do it by a formula, you should get the same answer. Let's do one more quickly. Okay, let's throw a lot of negatives in here. Negative 2, negative 3, and 5, negative 2. Again, I'm going to label my points. x1, y1, x2, y2. My formula is m equals, oh, this time I'm going to graph first. You could do it either order. So this time I'm going to graph first. The first time I did the formula first, I'm going to graph first. Now hopefully I made the grid lines on this really small and I'm having a hard time seeing them. Okay, so I'm going to start at negative 2, negative 3. 1, 2, 3. That's my first point. And then the other is 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 2. And that's my line. Well, between those points, how did I get from one point to the other? I had to go up 1 and then over 7. Now on mine it's really hard to see, so I'd want to use my formula to check it. So I'm going to do my formula. y1 minus y2. Notice there's lots of negatives here, so I will use parentheses to separate the negatives. x1 minus x2. Okay? So on the top there, remember, a negative minus a negative, this makes this positive. And so I have negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1. If you're not sure, please use your calculator. And then negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7. So I could have gone down 1 into the left 7 or up 1 into the right 7. And that's going to be my slope. I hope that I made this video a little more interesting for those of you who like stories. Let me know.